welcome to episode 33 of On the Bench. On the Bench is the world's leading podcast for the hobby of scale model building. So if you build aircraft, ships, armour, cars, figures, or science fiction subjects, this is the podcast for you. On the Bench is a fortnightly podcast available on iTunes, Stitcher, and all good podcast apps. Don't forget to mark us as your favourite so you never miss a show. And while you're there, leave a rating. That just helps other people find the show as well. If you want to get in contact with us, we'd love to hear from you. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. Firstly, you can send us an email at onthebench64@gmail.com. Alternatively, just pop in the words On the Bench into Facebook and that'll take you directly to our page. And hello and welcome to the next episode of On the Bench, and we have a full studio again tonight. So hello to Ian. How are you, mate?
Hello, Dave. Hello, listeners.
And of course we've got Julian.
Hello.
And we've got a special guest tonight, Robert. G'day, Robert.
G'day, how's it going?
Good, thanks. Robert's here to talk later on about Russian tanks, Soviet tanks, Russian tanks.
Soviet tanks from World War II.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
Soviets, the good era. So what's been happening, guys, since last episode? Ian, what have you been up to?
Not very much.
You've lost...
Just a lot of procrastinating.
Oh, that's no good, man.
Yeah.
That is no good at all.
Yeah, I did a little bit of work on that new little Japanese Army submarine.
Yeah, how's that working out?
Oh, it needs a lot of work.
Does it?
Yeah, it's not a slap together over a weekend job, no.
Oh. You know,
Considering how
submarines
small
either
it is.
go together really well or they'll fight and fight and fight you.
Yeah. This one seems to just suck up putty.
Julian, what about you?
No building at the moment, but a lot of planning on purchasing.
Planning on purchasing?
Planning on purchasing.
Yeah. So, I've decided that one airbrush just isn't enough, and I'm looking into getting some more. A friend of mine who bought an airbrush for whatever reason, he decided he's going to give his airbrush to me. I didn't know what it was, so I asked him to send me a photo, and he said, "Okay, here's the airbrush, and it's an Iwata Eclipse."
What? He's giving it to you for nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Sure.
Well, he initially said it was a Iwata Ninja. I'm like, that doesn't sound like any model that I know of. And apparently that's the compressor, so I might get a compressor out of it as well. I don't know. It depends on what he can fit in his.
There's going to be some strings attached there somewhere.
Yeah, I'd say so.
No, I mean, he has no use for it. He has no use for it because he bought it. I'm assuming to spray paint a PlayStation controller or something like that.
Probably wants a date with your sister or something like that.
Well, good luck to him. But also, aside from that, I'm actually thinking of buying an airbrush. So I've been looking at one of the Mr. Procon airbrushes.
You've got an airbrush at the moment, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So this is one of those sort of it's basically Mr. Procon is the Gun's brand of airbrushes, and what they do is they have brushes that are more or less sort of rebadged Iwata airbrushes. They come out of the same factory apparently.
Oh yeah.
And so this one is sort of like an equivalent to the Iwata Custom Micron.
How much are they?
Oh, around $400.
Jeez, I wouldn't pay that much for an airbrush.
I wouldn't pay that much for a car.
For a car. Well,
Wow.
then again, you'd be amazed how much you spend on tools.
Yeah, well, I'm like you. I'm a bit of a tool nut, so I've got lots of different tools, and in fact, I even went and bought. I'll tell you about what I bought later on. But yeah, I'm like you. I always buy heaps of different tools.
Like I'm still trying to get my hands on that new Display super glue station.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went on their website and I couldn't find it.
Oh.
But I do know someone who's already got one.
And it works really well?
Yeah, I want to get one. Well, especially if with us doing our small photo etch.
Yeah, yeah. I'll wait for you to get it first, and then you can tell me whether it's any good or not.
Yeah, I will.
I can't quite work out what it is.
Yeah, it's just this cast or milled aluminium block with these two little domes that you can pop on and off.
Okay.
And you put your super glue on the domes, and it comes like a photo etch fret with these little applicators.
Right.
All different sizes. So you can adjust how much super glue you're applying at the time.
For the modeller who has everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I just use a piece of aluminium foil. I use super glue on there and a toothpick, and away I go.
Was it fuse wire?
Well, that's a bit flash for me.
Bit of fuse wire.
Yeah, Robert, if you did more photo etch, would you probably look into getting something a bit more advanced?
Yeah.
Or maybe. I've done a bit of soldering on photo etch, which is quite good.
It's solder photo etch.
Yeah.
It's too thin.
No, you can do it.
There's a special technique.
Yeah.
Don't use much solder. It's like you cut little tiny bits of solder off.
Yeah,
and
little
put that
slithers.
It's not the solder, it's the actual heat I'd be worried about applying because
I've got one of those adjustable ones where you can adjust the heat. You'll probably burn your finger at some point, but it's part of life.
Yeah.
Part of modelling.
Of the pain.
Yes.
Modelling is about 95% pain, isn't it?
Yep.
But I suppose it wouldn't necessarily be for more like ship modelling because that's very, very small. It'd be more like for say the casemates on like flat sided sort of things around on tanks and artillery units and
Boxes.
Yeah, lots of boxes and things. The guards on tanks. Yeah,
flaps on aircraft. On the Lancaster requires all that photo etch for the flaps.
Oh yeah, I've done photo etch flaps.
Yeah.
I didn't go in for it back then, but I don't know. Maybe I'd try it now. Depends.
I found it really useful for times when you got to put little rivets and stuff they give you and put those on, and you like just tin the parts and then sort of put them in place and hit it with a bit of heat. And they're all in exactly the right spot and stuck down forever.
There you go, Dave.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I look surprised because I am surprised. So, Robert, what have you been doing since we last had you on the show? For our listeners, remember, you were in talking about Japanese aircraft. That was about, 2 episodes ago?
I think so.
Yeah.
2 or 3,
Wasn't that long ago.
Well, since then I've gone mad for Russian tanks.
It's the reason for getting you in tonight.
That's right. So what I've mostly been doing, because I'm building some Dragon T-34s, is cleaning up injection points on the tracks. And I've worked out it's about 13 hours for one kit.
Would you even see it, though, the injection marks?
Well, probably you don't see the ones on the underside of the tracks.
Yeah.
But I sort of, once I start, I just keep going.
I don't enjoy it. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I've been purchasing again. I went to a new hobby store that's opened up here in Melbourne. Metro Hobbies have opened up a second store, or reopened, I guess I should say. And I popped in there and with the intentions of just having a quick look and walked out with an Airfix Phantom 1/72 scale, which I'm looking forward to building. Love the Phantom. It's a really hot-looking aircraft.
Nice aircraft.
And the Royal Navy version too, where it's got that extended oleo on the
front landing gear.
Yeah, so it can get better angle of attack, sort of launching off the Ark Royal as it used to. See, that's what the Brits did wrong. They shouldn't have named their new carriers the Queen Elizabeth and the Prince of Wales. I should have renamed it, Ark Royal again. I hate it when navies
Ark
do
Royal,
that.
Invincible.
They'd be like Ark Royal 5 by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, but I hate it when navies don't sort of stick to the true traditions like that.
Oh, like naming convention, you mean?
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when you purchase books and then they change the way it gets manufactured in the series, and you have like half the series is small and the rest of them are large or have different covers or something like that.
Yeah, they change the artist halfway through the series. Like, hang on.
And the worst is, or if they just change the artwork, right? It's always the naming on the spine doesn't line up with the rest of them.
Yeah.
So I bought this Phantom, and I also got the Hasegawa USS Gambier Bay, which is a very small aircraft carrier.
It is tiny.
Still a big model, though.
In 1/350 scale, yeah, absolutely. And spent about as much as the kit cost again in photo etch. Flyhawk, beautiful etch. It's amazing, and the instructions are awesome. And, of course, I had to get the carrier, the wooden deck for it as well. So you know, anyway, quite a few dollars later.
As we know with building ships.
Well, I think anything really. So, so I've now sworn off. I'm heading overseas in about 36 days. So I better save my money so I can buy kits when I go overseas and get them back into the country.
Yes.
Well, the way it works is if you go overseas and you don't spend as much as you thought you would,
Yep.
then you've got all this extra money that you can spend on kits when you get back.
No, I'll spend a lot of money on my way. Man, have you seen how much it costs to do things overseas?
Yeah,
It's
that's
really
why
expensive.
I tend to go to like cheap countries where I get like a $2 drink or something like that.
Well, I'm off to Paris, then I'm off to Toronto, then New York, and then Honolulu on the way home.
It's quite a round trip.
I'm bound to find a hobby shop there somewhere.
The big
I'd say
question I always have is people go overseas or wherever,
Yep.
and they go to hobby shops and they buy kits. They're no different to the kits you can buy here, you know.
Well, that's true in some respects, and in other respects, it's not true. I mean, if I was to go to Japan, which I'm dying to go to, you'd be able to get a whole heap of kits that you just don't see. If you Pit Road is one that comes to mind. You get the full range of Hasegawa stuff that you probably don't see in this country. In fact, that Hasegawa ship I had to order it from Japan because
Really?
it was the only place we can get it. Yeah,
Oh, well, we blame our distributors, I guess, for that.
yes, I guess so.
So distributors, if you're listening, lift your game.
Yeah, absolutely.
More ships for Dave.
Yeah.
Well, I'm into aircraft at the moment as well.
Oh,
so
well, more aeroplanes then.
yeah,
More of everything.
I've still got to get my B-52. I've still got to get my B-58. I still want to get a B-47, B-29. I want to get one of them.
Right.
I was looking at the Academy kit because one of their guys.
What about a B-36?
Yeah, I know. If I can get it in 1/72 scale.
Yeah, Monogram made one.
Yeah, I don't want to do too much work.
At its time was the biggest kit of its day.
I don't want to do too much work to it though. Raised panel lines.
Yeah.
I got a
That
shock.
bit of scribing, scribing's no real drama.
As I said, I got a shock the other week when I bought that Airfix Vulcan to see it had raised panel lines. So, anywho, so I want to buy all the bombers in 1/72 scale. So it means I'll get a new Airfix Wellington. I'll get that. I've got a Lancaster, B-17.
Manchester,
Blenheim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna be-
Hampton.
No, I don't know whether I'm going to go to the small ones. I think
Come on, look at the really thin, skinny little tail.
No, I'll stick to
Little tailbone.
4 engines and above.
4
Oh,
engines.
really?
in the back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The big bombers, the heavy bombers. Otherwise,
Some of the big bombers only had 2 engines.
This is true.
Yeah, if you go to Heinkel Grief, actually that had 4 engines, but they were in 2 in the nacelle. That's why they used to catch fire all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great design.
Heinkel 177.
Well, he's specifically talking British ones, isn't he?
No, all aircraft.
All aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's some interesting ones.
I'm
out
just
there.
on a bomber kick at the moment. In fact, so much of a bomber kick, I was even looking at the Warhammer Bomber, the Orc aircraft.
Wow.
That's when you start
that's a
paying
jump.
lot of money. Is it the Games Workshop or
yeah,
the Forge
about
World?
$120 for it.
Oh,
I
it'd
think.
be a lot cheaper than the Forge World version.
Yeah, probably.
I know
But this
Forge
looks-
World kits are really stupidly expensive.
But it just looks cool because you don't have to worry about doing any sort of rivet counting, and you don't have to worry about paint scheme. You just do whatever you want to it.
Yeah,
And it just look awesome.
yeah, they do.
See,
Yeah.
that's it's a slippery slope though. Once you start one of those, you sort of feel that reprieve from having to do things the proper way, kind of a thing.
Well, see, this
I
is
used to
it.
have an Orc. I used to have an Orc fighter bomber, which I ended up. I never built and sold it off. And in the 40, I've got Forge World. I think I got one of those Tau fighters,
Yeah.
which is the I think they call them the fish heads, don't they, these days?
Oh yeah, the
Blue-
space communists,
Yeah,
because they're all about the greater good.
Yes. But that's a pretty cool looking little thing, but stupidly expensive, like hundreds of dollars for this little chunk of resin.
Wow.
I have no idea what any of you are talking about.
Science fiction, my friend.
Okay.
Wargaming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's right. It's really addictive because you can sit there, and I was looking at the Orc Bomber, and I was looking at the Space Marines and their different tanks and everything. And I'm going, "Gee, you know what? They still look cool. They really do.
You should go Imperial Guard and get a Baneblade.
Yeah, don't go down that route. Stick to real things.
Yeah. True. True.
Robert's purity is coming out.
All right, let's have a look at what's new in the modelling world. So we'll be back very, very shortly. And what's new in the modelling world? First up, we have got from Stalingrad Miniatures. They're giving us a 1/35th scale crew to go in their Panther interiors, which for those of you who build armour, you'll be very excited about.
Which model Panther would it be for?
Doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I wonder that. I mean, I suppose they're all the same on the inside to a degree.
The Panther from Take-On.
Take on Meng or Ryefield.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, if they're accurate models, shouldn't they fit all of them?
It's saying here that they're cast in grey resin sculpted by Alexander Zelenkov, and these 5 crewmen will fill either the Take-On, Meng, or the Ryefield Panther with the full interior. That is all the rage at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, folks.
And being Stalingrad, they're nice figures.
See, I wonder how that works, because would you be able to get them into the tank before you close it up, or I mean after you close it up, or do you have to put them in before?
I'd say put them in before.
The tricky
Otherwise,
thing.
you'll have a lot of fun getting them in through the hatches.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, but don't the new kits sort of all come apart?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like you take the top off, they supposedly fit so well.
I haven't seen these new ones. So from Meng,
Well, you'd have to actually build them to know, wouldn't you?
what's the Ryefield Panther? Anybody heard of that?
Yeah, Ryefield models.
Yeah, rifle models. So they've got a few kits, and
Yeah,
I think they've got an Abrams, a Tiger, and a Panther at
Well,
least.
It's more than one Tiger. They do heaps of Tigers.
Yeah,
I've never heard of them.
they're very expensive kits because they're full interior.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean they're very comprehensive. I think some people have had issues with how accurate it is, but then again they say they'll nitpick everything, right? So
I think we'll have to have a look at them one day. Well, I might do it while we're off air. Right.
well, it came out before the podcast started, so it's not like we would have covered it. The
Look
Tiger,
at
that
me.
is.
Oh, okay, right. Next up, we have got some new artwork, sprues, and a picture of the new kit from Musing Hobby, which is the Waffenträger.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is a paper Panzer.
I love the Waffenträgers.
You're so excited about this. You're going to get one?
Yeah. Oh, I will, yes, definitely.
It's
E100, yeah.
It's due for release in August, so we're actually well past August now, so it should be available in shops, or where you usually get your Musing Hobby kits from. And it looks like quite a interesting little kit, doesn't it?
Mm.
I love the way they've got. So what it is, it's a Panther chassis.
An E100.
E100 chassis.
Thank you. With it's almost like a naval type.
Casement on top of it.
Yeah, and with the crew sort of standing on the back. Heck of a way to sort of earn your right marks for the day, standing on the back of that thing trying to shoot it.
Yeah.
But
And like probably a lot of the Hummel crewmen, you'd probably be deaf in about 3 weeks.
yeah, absolutely. So it looks like quite an interesting little kit. So keep your eyes open for that one.
Definitely.
Next up, we have Ammo's one of their books that they've released, and this is called Gravity: Sci-Fi Modeling Perfect Guide. Sci-Fi Modeling Perfect Guide in the 2000s. And if you just look through this book, which is a gorgeous book, they've got some discussing the Slave One from Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica ship. Of course, you got the ubiquitous Star Destroyer out of Star Wars, and showing you how to paint and model that one. Batman's Batmobile from the
Dark Knight trilogy.
That's right. And it looks really cool with Joker was here sort of scrawled on the side of
Graffitied
it.
on the side, yeah.
And so there's the Orc Bomber. That's where I sort of got the inspiration from. I was looking through.
Orc Boomer.
Yeah, the Orc Boomer.
It's
Or
a
bomber.
very scrap metal,
Yes, very orcish.
cobbled together sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, going off their canon, no one knows how these things work.
Well, I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm not the most expert on these things, but I believe it works because they believe
It works.
it works.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
anyhow, it looks absolutely awesome. So I'm definitely going to go and splash out and buy one of them in the near future. Of course, it also got a Cylon Raider as well as the X-Wing. And interestingly, it's also got a model of the ship out of Interstellar, which was... I don't know who actually does that particular model. Yeah, not too sure.
Yeah, reading it, I'm not sure he does. The guy worked on the film, so maybe there's no model.
Oh, okay.
I suppose there was a model in the film.
Yep. Next up, we have Revell's September releases. Revell, Germany, of course. And the first one up is the World War I battleship SMS Koning.
Koning.
Oh, I've got my pronunciation wrong.
Konig.
I'm going to say Koenig.
Koenig. Robert would be the closest.
Its scale is 1/700, which is back to its normal scale. Thank God, because normally I do these stupid scales in Revell. So people will be happy with the 1/700 scale, and
It's a nice looking kit.
yeah, but the pictures that Revell Germany puts out, the models look really sort of toyish when they're sort of finished. They're actually just slapped together to sort of show you an image of them, but I think they need to sort of give them to professional modelers to do rather than...
I think ever since they got bitten years ago.
Well, who bit them?
Well, someone sued them.
Oh, really? Over what?
Because they bought a model kit and built it, and it didn't look as good as what was on the box, and had a really good lawyer. And ever since then, Revell has not put like the top class builders with their kits.
This German Imperial Navy dreadnought can be built either as a complete hull or waterline model, and comes with structured planking on the main deck, rotating gun barrels, display stand, and decal sets. Now, this is really exciting. They've got the German staff car, the G4, in 1/72nd scale. Now, this goes all the way back to my childhood watching Hogan's Heroes when they used to roll up in this car with the 6 wheels on it. I reckon it's awesome. It's got the double axle at the back, 3-axle cross-country vehicle, which is used during World War II. Superb detail underneath the kit showing
Considering how small it's going to be.
Yeah, showing the chassis and everything. It should be rubber wheels, metal axles, fine detailing parts, authentic interior. It should make an absolute awesome kit for those of you who are interested in building a sort of thing. And I'd even be tempted to buy this, actually. It looks really, really good.
Well, I think you can actually get it in 35th scale.
Oh, can you really?
Yep. I think it's ICM who do it in 35th.
Then you just got a little 1/35th scale Führer.
Right.
Next topical, because we're going to be talking about this later on, is a Soviet heavy tank. The IS-2 scale is 1/72nd. Number of parts 118, and there looks just fairly ordinary and straightforward, I guess. I can't tell whether the tracks are rubber or not. But in 1/72nd,
usually in that scale, I think they might even do it as one unit, maybe.
Not too sure. I can't.
Oh,
There we go.
There we go.
Yep, they're rubber.
Rubber tracks.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Next off from Revell, we have a 1997 Ford F-150 XLT. Have we mentioned on the show that all the moulds from
Not
Revell in the US have been bought out?
Not yet.
Well, shall we mention it then?
We should mention it.
Yes. So, as everybody knows, Revell in Germany sort of went belly up.
No, we met Revell monogram in America.
Beg your pardon, yeah. Went belly up, and apparently all the moulds have been bought by another company now.
Mirage, was it?
Don't think it was Mirage. I'm not too sure.
Atlantis,
that's it. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Robert.
Which is great. It means we're not going to lose all those really cool muscle car kits.
Well, that's right. So,
But on the downside, we're still going to keep a whole bunch of crappy kits. Like the P47 in 48 scale that still has Revel or whatever it is written on the wing, on the outside of the wing, not the inside.
It's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Among other things.
And you just sand it off anyway.
No,
But
just-
certainly the car guys have been very excited about
Oh,
this
yeah,
because
we are.
hopefully going to see a whole lot of kits that have that haven't been around for a while. Sort of
Exactly.
pumped out now. Anyway, back to Revell, Germany. So, as I said, 1997 Ford F100 XLT.
F-150, mate.
What did I say? I said F-150.
You said F-100.
Beg your pardon. Parts, number of parts is about 116 parts in it. Sells or retail for about 29 euros, 30 euros. And it should make a lovely little kit for you guys who like building cars out there. Next up, in 1/350 scale, is a German Type 7 submarine.
The C-41, though, with the schnorkel.
Yeah, I think I might have actually built this. I think I might have it either in my stash or I've actually built it.
Yeah, I've built the AFV Club one.
Yeah, I've built the AFV Club one, but I know I've done either the 8 or the...
Yeah, I've built a Revell Type 7D, the mine layer, which wasn't a too bad a kit.
That might be the one I'm thinking of as well.
The extended hull.
Yeah.
This looks like a raised detail.
Well, a lot of those subs they were, especially
Yeah.
the ribbing.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
do
It's
with a bit
actually
of
the
photo
ribbing's
etch.
not too bad. Looking at the kit, it's
No.
quite nice.
Yep. Does some highlighting on the paint there, sort of brought out and makes it look like an oil canning effect on the side of the hull, so it's quite nice.
Just got to replace the rails with some photo etch. You'll be right.
That's all. It looks terrible. All right, next up, aircraft carrier USS Forrestal and boom, the scale 1 to 542. Again, I just don't understand. I wish, can somebody out there please illuminate me as to why they build these weird scales?
So they're in the box scale, Dave.
Yeah, but no, I don't.
Is this a Rebox?
I'm thinking it might be.
Because if it is, right, this is the kind of thing that you wish they'd thrown the mould on the scrap heap, right?
I wish somebody had dropped the mould. Looking at some pictures of it, it looks just... Oh, geez, I wouldn't even waste my money. Might be good to sort of build and put some firecrackers in it, and that's about float it in the bathtub and sort of boom. Anywho, that's it from Revell. Next up, we have Trumpeter. They have announced their September 2018 releases, and they've got some really interesting sort of kits in these releases. They have, first off, is a M983 tractor with an AN/TPY2 X-band radar. So what it is, it's the front lorry of the truck, and it's got this whopping great big radar, which is... It looks like it's...
Looks like a shipping container
I was
or
going
a
to say
tanker or
exactly the
something.
same, yeah.
Almost. And it comes in desert colours. And for those of you who enjoy building your military trucks, this is going to be a must-have for your collection. That is for sure. This type of radar is basically is integrated with the theatre anti-ballistic missile defence system. And this radar sort of serves as its little primary sensor. So, very detailed kit. Ubiquitous photo etch and rubber wheels. Total part count is 580 and comes in 18 sprues. Next off, in 1/32 scale, is the Russian MiG-29C Fulcrum.
I like the Fulcrum.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the Russian jets in shape.
Yeah. The shape of them are certainly very nice, weren't they? They look like they're the real deal, but...
Is there Ukrainian markings on that one?
I'm just trying to...
yellow.
Ukrainian Air Force, yes, it is. So you get decals so you can have it either Ukrainian or you can have it as a Russian jet.
Nice. Be a big kit too.
Oh, it'd be a huge kit, wouldn't it? And plenty
The stores.
and lots of stores that come with it as well. So that'll keep you very busy building that thing. And just looking at the pictures of
lot
the
of sprues.
sprues.
Yeah, it comes with rubber tyres, so
Well,
That's an easier
you can get an
replacement.
aftermarket one.
Yeah.
Get some from Barracuda or something like that.
Yep.
Total parts count 570 plus. Metal gear struts are included. Photo etch parts are included, although photo etch parts from Trumpeter are a bit hit and miss, so you'd definitely be going aftermarket for that. Good rubber tyres, as Ian already pointed out, and also highly detailed engines. So I'll keep my eye out to see anybody who's building that, just to see what it's like, what it looks like when it comes together. Next off is HMS Rodney in 1/700 scale. This one can be built either as a full hull or waterline. The painting and marking guide, it looks absolutely gorgeous in that camouflage. So
Got a long nose on that ship, didn't
Yeah,
it?
I know.
yeah, the British had this real sort of way of building battleships where they sort of put all the turrets towards the front,
Yeah.
with the bridge at the back there. Sort of looks really menacing.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a Top Fuel dragster or something.
Yeah, hot rod, yeah.
I understand it didn't work too great in practice. Then when they fired all the guns, it damaged the bridge area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah.
I think anything that sort of lets go with those guns would, and that's why it always amuses me when you see like the Japanese, especially I think it was, with their big main armaments, used to have anti-aircraft sort of guns sort of mounted on top.
Exactly.
There'd be no way that there's no way they'd be manned when the main guns are firing, because you just the concussion is sort of kill the guy standing on
Well,
top.
that's right. Yeah, turn their internal organs to soup.
Absolutely. But regardless, it still looks like you said. It looks like a great kit.
We've got a
So
little bit of photo etch as well.
just a tiny bit. Next up from AFE Club, they've announced a landing vehicle set in 1/350 scale, which is going to go with their LST that they're planning on bringing out. Which I'm still got no further news for you out there. But this landing vehicle set in 1/350 scale comes with a Sherman, an Alligator. I think they're called Alligators, weren't they? The
Yep.
amphibious.
Is it Amtrak or something?
Amtrak, yep.
Yeah.
A WDK, a Juice and a half, as well as a Jeep and a couple of field guns there as well. So just hanging out now to see when they actually are going to announce when they're going to be letting that out. So that's it from me. Do you guys have any sort of news at all?
Well, last episode I mentioned about the crew for the Australian Light Car Patrol for the Model T Ford.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and I my apologies to everyone, but I got the company wrong. It's actually being released by D-Day Miniatures, not Evolution. Okay. So anyone who was sitting there looking for on the Evolution site, I'm sorry, guys. I put you on the wrong course.
I do have one other announcement, actually. A new thing.
Oh, sorry.
Yep,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
Is it Tommy's World that do the World War I figures? Tommy's, yep. They're releasing I think, third Australian light horse in 1/32 scale, charging on his horse. And it is one of the most spectacular figures I've seen in a long time. And yes, I am going to order one.
Really?
Yep.
30, did you say 35th scale or 32nd?
32.
Okay.
Tommy's War always do 32.
Okay.
But it's an amazing figure when you see this. It's just so dramatic. He's got the cutlass out and leaning forwards on the horses at full gallop. Just looks amazing.
He's got the right 303 on his back.
I'd say so.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
But yeah.
That'd be awesome. The other announcement I've got is Tomayo have announced the development of a new tool, Spitfire Mark 1, which is going to be in...
That'd be 32 scale.
48.
Stand by.
48.
I'm just waiting for it to load. Hang on.
Wait for it to load.
No.
Slow computer, Dave.
Yeah.
So I suppose that'll be a hot seller in the UK, wouldn't it?
I think
48
the hot seller
scale.
everywhere.
So what's wrong with the old Mark 1?
Oh, you should go and Brit model. They know all about
Oh,
it.
really?
The cord's wrong in the wing. The fuselage is wrong.
Oh, and I've got one.
Oh, well, you have to
get rid of it before this
Oh.
new one comes out.
Yes.
It's in 1/48 scale. The kit reportedly have parts to recreate various specifications of the Mark 1. The cockpit can be posed either open or closed. It's going to have realistic cockpit detailing, photo etch parts, and a seated pilot figure and 3 marking options. No notification of the release date, and Just have to wait and see when that's going to be coming out.
No, I'm curious as to has anyone seen any of the molds for this thing yet?
Well, we've seen CAD.
Okay.
And
Will it have an engine in it? Because much like how their last
Two
release
kits.
was the 109 that has an exposed engine.
And
option.
the KO 61.
Mm.
That's got an engine.
Having said that, I don't recall seeing an engine on the CAD. So,
But they may not have it in that in that shot.
Yeah, the release was talking about it being tentative, and that was apparently they was hoping to have it ready for the big All Japan hobby show, but they're not sure. So
Yep.
we'll have to wait and see.
When is the next Japanese all hobby show?
The end of the month.
End of September.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one Shizuoka, which is earlier, and there's the All Japan hobby show, which is later.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't mind getting across to one of those shows.
Yeah, it'd be good, yeah.
That and Telford is my two big sort of on my bucket
So,
list.
any sponsors out there?
Absolutely. By the time I pack all this gear up and ship it across, it cost me an extra.
I know who's someone who
$1,000.
can sponsor you, Ian.
Who?
A guy named Ian. Right? You can sponsor yourself.
I can, yes. Yeah.
Got to get to Telford one day, boys.
The roving reporting.
We've got to get to Telford.
Yes, no, I fully agree. We'll do that one year.
All right, I think that's it for what's new then.
Wait on.
Oh,
Well,
bigger
no,
pardon,
Robert's got
Robert's
lots of
got
lots. Yeah.
Yes, coming from AFV Club is a Northrop HESA-FIV, I think it's a Sakwe 80 Thunderbolt. This is the Iranian redo of the F5 fighter they had. It's got twin fins and it's supposedly a fourth generation fighter now. But
Is that the one they just rolled out and threatening America with?
I think so. Yeah, it's supposed to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. Apparently they're just rebuilds of the...
Well, you
Yeah,
know
the
what?
F5s.
You've got to hand it to the Iranian Air Force because they've still kept those F-14s flying they bought way back in
Considering the
the...
Americans destroyed every single part of those things.
And they're still keeping them flying, so they've done really well.
Right. Well, I'll keep going. From Copper State Models is a new POR 17.
Ooh.
So, and it looks like it's going to rival
Wing
Wing
Nut.
Up Wings kits.
Yep.
It's so good. It really does look good. And
Same
it's-
scale as Wing Nut
yeah,
Wings?
32nd scale, and will be very popular. It was a major plane in World War
Definitely was, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll bring out what Ian's been wishing that Wing Nut Wings would bring out.
Spad
Spad.
13.
I think pretty good chance, I would think.
Well,
I hope
if
so.
Wing Nut Wings isn't going to fill that void, which they,
Copper State.
when we
should
spoke to them, they didn't have any intentions, did they,
No.
doing the SPAD? Because they reckon it was being done to death elsewhere.
And I'll just cut in quickly. I had a look at the new Wing Nut Wings Fokker Fokker D7. No, was it? Albatross D5. Sorry, the new Red Baron one. It actually comes with decals for Manfred von Richthofen's D3 and DR1.
Wow.
Shame that doesn't come in the kit.
Yeah, shame you don't get the kit. Yeah.
Be good. Okay, going on. Again from AFV Club, they've been showing some little teasers, and the experts instantly knew what it was, and it's a Lockheed U2 Dragon Lady.
Oh, you too.
Yeah, the Republic of China apparently have some of their own, so it's come from AFV Club. So
Nice.
What scale?
in 48,
That'd be a nice big wingspan of one of them.
it would be. I'll mention something with wingspan in a second.
I think I know Chris Dowsett's got one, but it's the old Hawk kit.
Oh,
But I think that was the only kit around in
Yeah.
48 scale for a U2.
right.
Don't know.
Sometimes it's better just to stay away.
Yes.
Just because it's the only one doesn't mean it's a good one.
That's right.
Yes, Ian.
Okay, we've done the
What?
Okay, moving on. We've got from AMG and Dora Wings. We have they've talked about they'll be releasing a 48 scale Seversky P35, P35A J9.
Nice.
So you can do the Swedish one. Apparently, you can't do the Swedish one effectively from the existing kits because it's got a longer fuselage. Apparently,
Right.
and they're also doing a Block 152, 155, the French fighter from
Yeah.
World War II. You're making a face, Ian. It's a French plane. They can
Exactly.
be ugly
It's,
sometimes. They can be pretty
they are
ugly.
very ugly. Just look at their pre-war bombers.
Well, that's why it sort of screams out to actually buy one, because they're so ugly that you'd have to actually build one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, watching a train wreck. You
The
can't sort of-
cauldron, whatever is it? The cauldron, the really long
Yeah.
thing that looked like a racing plane.
Yeah, people like that. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that, yeah. There's a special hobby kit, isn't it? In 30-second scale or something?
There's kits in 48 and 30 seconds. Scale.
Ah.
It's amazing how popular it is. For
I've got 2 French planes in my stash, and one of them's actually quite attractive. The other one not so
Right.
much.
Yeah. The other things, Tamiya have announced their 35 scale M301 white Scout car. They've announced it's going to have 2 Red Army schemes and 1 USA scheme from Sicily, plus a whole bunch of Red Army figures. And one of them's apparently Mongolian, so you can add a bit of diversity to you.
Yeah. Tomato don't usually do figures with their armour stuff.
Their
do
new
they?
figures are really good
Yeah.
because they're
Are they?
lidaring people.
Oh.
And they're really, really
Well,
good.
that's like one of their Russian anti-tank mobile guns got the Russian president in it.
That's right. The
Yeah.
Su-76, it's
Yeah.
clearly Putin, the commander.
Yeah.
You know what? I said that Tomato don't usually do figures, but they did the whole range of figures back in the 70s and everything. All those ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think they stopped doing it for a while.
They did.
They've
And then-
they've redone at least the German one.
Yeah.
Basically, just much better versions, but the same poses.
Yeah, they just tell that when they lidar the guy, they just say, "Here's the old one. Can you
that,
make
yeah.
this pose?" But on adding to that, I did build the Tamiya M10 the other year or so ago, and they had 3 very nice figures inside it.
Oh, that's good.
I didn't do them.
Wow.
I built them and then I didn't paint them. I was like, I don't have paint to do these things, so I just left them aside.
Yep.
Oh, mix it up.
Yeah.
Just mix the paint.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Also, coming from Tamiya is a 35th scale Sheridan light tank.
Ah.
Now, the Sheridan, that was made of aluminium.
That's right.
And it was
yeah.
air portable
Mm.
and used in Vietnam.
And the Gulf War.
Did they use it in the Gulf War, did they?
Yeah. The Marines
Oh,
had
the
them.
Marines had
Yeah.
them. That's right. Yeah.
The kit is a Vietnam version.
Right.
So they obviously think that the Gulf War is going to be more popular because it was bringing out the least popular one first. But it's got 3 figures. One's holding a Garand carbine. They look very good.
It had that really interesting shaped turret,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know how to describe it, almost like a 2 saucers
Mm.
put together.
Yeah. A little bit like the Merkava, newer
Yeah,
Merkava
yeah,
turrets.
yeah, very similar.
It's quite a nice looking tank if you like Vietnam stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the only other thing I've got is the is it HK or no, Trumpeter? I think are bringing out the B-24, aren't they, in 30-second scale?
Oh, and there's,
Yeah,
it is
Liberator,
a
yeah.
Trumpeter. It is Trumpeter
Yeah.
doing that. Yes.
Well, the
In
point,
both the J and the D.
yeah. Well, it turns out Hannets have listed for £135, which is way under the HK models Lancaster. So if you want a great big bomber in 30-second scale, you might want to
Get the lid.
use your wallet and go with the cheaper one.
Sorry,
from
so
Trumpeter.
how much was that again?
£135, and I believe the HK models Lancaster is sort of like £350 to £400.
Wow, that's
That's
a
expensive.
huge price difference.
Talking of huge, the wingspan of the B-24 in 30-second scale is 41.25 inches, or 105 centimetres. So it's a
Nice.
very, very big kit.
Wow.
I don't think IKEA make a cabinet that big.
No.
That'd be larger than obviously the B-17. But
Yeah, they had a larger wingspan than the B-17.
What
A
about
lot
what
thinner.
about the Lancaster? I'm just trying to think. The Liberator still got a bigger wingspan than the Lancaster, I think too.
Oh,
I would think so.
yeah,
so might be, yeah.
I think so. Anywho,
Mm.
well, geez, Rob, we're going to get you on more often. A lot of new stuff.
Got all the good news. Got all the goss.
Oh dear, that's really good.
Oh, maybe taking up too much time, but anyway,
No,
you can
that's
edit
all right.
it out.
No, I don't edit anything out. In
Oh.
fact, the listeners, I think they sort of demand that we sort of put more time in, so
okay.
it's worked out really well. All right, having said that, I think we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and have, which is going to a very interesting discussion on Russian tanks. So back shortly. Okay, and we're back from our short break, and Robert's going to be talking today about, or tonight I should say, about Russian tanks. First of all, we're just concentrating on World War II, aren't we, Robert?
That's right,
at this
yeah.
point? Yeah. So, away and over to you.
Yes, well, I've gone mad for Russian tanks lately. A club I'm involved with the display was going to be Russian tanks, and no one was going to do a T-34, which I thought was strange. So I thought I'll do a T-34. So I bought one T-34.
Yep.
And then another one.
Yep.
I thought, oh, that looks an interesting type. So I bought another one. So I'm only up to 5 T-34s now, but in a very short time I've got about 25 Russian kits. Right, I've pretty much got most things that are available now. So
25 tank kits now.
yeah, just in a very short time.
Any sort of particular manufacturer or all over the place?
See, the good thing is Trumpet. It's Hobby Boss.
Yep.
They're sort of aligned. They do a lot of very interesting off the sort of beaten track Russian kit, and it was previously, if you wanted those sort of tanks, you had to buy stuff from Middle Eastern and Far Eastern manufacturers that aren't great.
Well, like Zvezda or?
Well, things like AER and ITC Start, and you may
I
not have heard of those.
No, I haven't.
And their kits are not. Well, maybe they're good tries, and I wouldn't want to take them on.
Well, before we go into a bit more detail about the different kits that you got and the pros and cons and how they build, let's just go through a list of the tanks that the Russians operated during World War II. So we'll start with the light tanks. So there was the T-40, which is an amphibious light tank.
That's the one that really started me.
Then
It's so cute.
A tank's cute.
It is cute when you see it. It's cute.
Then there's the T-50, T-60, the T-45, which was experimental, the T-70, the T-80, and the A-20, which was also experimental. Then we come to their medium tanks. So they had the A-32, which is experimental, T-34, the T-34/85,
Yeah.
which I guess is
The classic one
two
that everyone
classic
builds.
ones. The T-34M, also known as the A-43, which was not produced in serially produced. The T-43 tank, which was not serially produced. The T-44, the A-44, the KV-13, and the T-28. So that's it for the medium tanks. Then we come down to the heavy tanks. We have the IS-1, the IS-2, the IS-2 modified in 1944, KV-1, KV-2, KV-1S. They also had blueprints for KV-3, KV-4, KV-5.
KV-85.
The KV-85, which was done as a stopgap. The KV-220, which is an experimental. The KV-8, which is a flamethrower. The KV-8S, which is a flamethrower. The SMK, experimental one. The T-100 tank, experimental. And the T-150. Then we come down to tank destroyers and assault guns.
Oh, he's not doing those ones.
Yes. I have a rule.
The ISU-122, the ISU-152, the SU-76, the SU-76L, the SU-85, SU-100, the SU-100Y, the SU-100S, the SU-101, SU-122, SU-122-44, and the SU-152. And, of course, we have self-propelled guns, the SU-18, blueprint only, never produced, SU-26, the SU-5, the ZIS-30, SU-122A, SU-8, SU-14-1, the S-51, not too sure, self-propelled howitzer, the SU-14-2, and the 212A and the SU-152. Of course, that's not even talking about the Lend-Lease tanks that the Russians had.
That's right.
Which was the
Treyarch?
Treyarch?
I think it might be called T-Truck.
Oh, Tetrarch.
The
Okay.
the LTV, the Valiant tank, the Churchill tank, the Matilda 2, the Stuart, the M3, the M3 Lee, the M4 Sherman, the M10 Jackson, the M24 Chaffee, the M18 Hellcat, and also they got their hands on some M26 Perishings as well, which is interesting. So, that is a lot of tanks they operated during World War II. And people have always had a crack at the Germans for producing so many different tanks and not sticking with one, particular sort of type. So, Interesting, isn't it?
The rabbit hole goes actually a lot further than that.
Oh.
But I'll let Robert get into it.
It's a bewildering array of variants, I
Yes.
would say too, especially with the T34s. Man, there's so many differences. You could just really just do T34s, and that'd keep you modelling forever. I think.
Wow.
Because there's different factories and different periods, and they're often quite different, like worthwhile doing because they're so visually different.
Yep.
And the good or bad part is that so many of the variants are available as kits, or you can get resin for not bad prices. There's a firm I go through a lot called Complex Zip, which I ran through Google Translate, means set of spare parts. Good name, I thought. And they do good stuff, and it's quite a good price. So yeah, it's quality stuff. So it's really good.
Yep.
And it's worked out well because I've got specific things I've wanted to do, and they've luckily made the things I need.
But it just staggers me that how did the Russians manage to produce so many different types and variants and, still sort of come out on top? Because I think it was Stalin famously said that quantity has a quality all of its own. So he was just, all for the mass producing of, that's why you saw masses of sort of T-34s and all that sort of come out in late 42 into 43 onwards. And I don't know, it just staggers me.
Well, I suppose in some ways, like you listed a lot of things there, a lot of those are sort of variants of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like the KVs and JSs were like in one line.
True.
But things like the T-34s, while they made changes to them, it was still a T-34 except for the same gun until they moved up to bigger guns. So it was, I'm not sure how interchangeable the parts were, but they worked out that they had a very limited lifespan. Like the transmission would only last for a certain amount of time, but that was less than the expected time the tank would last. I think it was something like 4 days in battle was the expected life of the tank. So why go to a lot of trouble to make one that lasts forever?
And the Russians are very slapshod with their sort of building as well. It was very sort of, it wasn't as refined as, say, you'd find with German tanks or even Allied tanks.
It reminds me of a story where I was years ago speaking to an elderly German fellow who was in the Wehrmacht, and he was over on the Eastern Front.
Yep.
And I remember during Barbarossa and the earlier campaigns that they'd see the Russian tanks and they'd hear them rattling and clunking, and they'd laugh because all their German tanks had the high tolerances and were a lot quieter and that. And then winter came. All the German stuff froze, the Russian stuff just kept going.
Yeah. And I guess that's sort of, one of the good things about sort of, just something sort of slapped together, and it's designed to do a job. And as you said, Robert, it's, only designed to sort of perhaps last, X amount of weeks in the front, and they didn't really care about it.
You're not designing a Bugatti.
That's right.
Yeah.
And slightly in the Russians' defence, the pre-war tanks were made much better because they had more time. But they, just turn those tanks out. Having a good, not very nicely finished tank.
Yep.
Wasn't there also the story about Stalingrad, and one of the tank factories there, and they had this tank that rolled out the factory into the front lines without a turret. Just a guy in there with an anti-tank gun or something, and
apparently
never to be seen of again. But
that story might be apocryphal, but it's a good story.
Yeah.
Apparently they didn't even they talk about sending that in primer. Apparently that didn't happen.
No.
But it's a good story.
Yep.
If you want a tank that came out in primer, you've got to get a French tank from 1940 because there's actually documented.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Without mufflers and still with the chalk writing on the side.
And just came tearing out.
Yeah.
Straight to the front. So, with your Russian tanks, are you a constant scale builder?
Oh, 35th scale.
Yep.
Only.
Yep.
There are 2 scales, 48 scale and 35th scale.
Is that the 2 scales you believe in?
Yes, yeah. So, there's great, and the good thing about it is so many kits are available now. Like that list you read out.
Yep.
Very few of those are not available as kits.
Yeah.
Trumpeter have done all of the KVs basically, and they're a great kit. They're I think 2005 now, but you buy them from Hobby Easy up in Hong Kong for $13.
Wow.
That's $13 US.
Yep.
I think what's it about $170 Australian now. No, I think it's about $17
And
Australian
rising.
now.
Yeah.
And they're really good. They come with both rubber band tracks and Lincoln length tracks, and they're very accurate. There's a website called Forbio Green, run by a guy called Neil Stokes, who wrote a book on KVs, and he goes through the kits, and he lists what you have to do to make all the variants, like from this month of production. And most of the bits, like if you swap between the different kits, because they're so cheap, you can buy a few. You can sort of do any of the KVs. So that's a great, and it's a nice kit, and it's accurate, so, which is good. Not all kits are accurate, so they're really good. And their Mini Art have done T60 kits, and they've got a full interior, and they are beautiful kits. They're much more expensive than the KVs and much smaller, but are really nice kits. But really, Hobby Boss have done so many, and they did the T40, which is my sort of entry drug into
The gateway drug.
the gateway drug, yeah, because it's so cute. And they do. There's a few variants, and there's some sort of new information has come to light, and they have got it all right. So they're really good and so cute, very cute.
So what's your reference material you use when you're sort of building?
Well, I've only getting one book, but I have found so much stuff on the net. There's Tanks Encyclopedia, have got a lot of good stuff. There's a guy, a young bloke on there who's written a book about T35s, and he's done quite a few articles, and he's gone lots of detail on things, and he's made me buy a lot of kits because he's written articles, and I think, I want to buy all those tanks from that battle.
Yeah.
So,
So which battle are you interested in?
The battle for Werber, or Werber, if it depends on how you pronounce it. And there was so I got into that because I like vehicles that have actually seen action.
Yep.
And the T35 tank, which I'm sort of interested in, 5 turrets, massive thing. That was the only time it documentedly saw action. And the Germans took lots of photographs of there, and there were 2 BT7s, 2 T26s, a KV1, and 4 T35s. So I've arranged so that I've got a kit of each of those, of the actual one that was there, which means new turrets and new tracks and stuff. But I find that fascinating to have actual vehicles you can look at.
So the T-35 had
5 turrets.
5 turrets. So how many crew all up?
I think 11 or 12, sort of, depending if they want someone to make tea.
It's
Now, just think about this. So you're in a Russian tank. You got 11 crew members. Imagine you're the tank commander and you're trying to organise and get these guys working in the concert.
Well, apparently it was very high tech inside. It had special light systems and stuff that he could tell them how to do things. Like, I don't think it had a proper intercom, but it had all electrical systems that could tell them where the turrets were pointing and stuff. It was very, very high tech.
But we talk about, I mean, I've done some time in the Green Machine, and
Right.
and span of control is a big thing. You sort of always pumped into you. So in my army days, it was sort of like the rule of 3. So you had three different parts made up one section. So you had your rifle, your machine gun group, and your command group.
Right.
You had 3 sections to platoon, 3 platoons to a company. We used to go up in 3s because it was called span of control. My day job, I work in emergency services, and we have span of control there. And we say, that one crew leader can't sort of look after more than 5 people, or 5 if you're in a strike team, you can't have more than 5 trucks. So just to coordinate 10 people in a tank.
But one of them would have been a commissar.
There's also the good thing about it is almost like 95% of them broke down before you got into combat, so it wasn't much of a problem.
Yeah.
So they did say that sort of control of everyone was difficult because when you've got 5 turrets and they're all doing their own thing, at least the commander in that didn't have to load and fire the gun. So that was.
Yeah, but these guys would have been off doing their own little thing and yelling and screaming across the comm system. Do they have comm systems in there? Do they have like a mic and
I think it was
headphones?
only the light systems.
Oh, wow.
So that was high tech for 1935, but yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And also they didn't have much armour too, so it was.
Yeah.
I think 20 to 30 millimetres of armour at the beginning. They up armoured them a bit later, but yeah.
So there was a lot of arguing, and then they died.
Yes, basically. They actually say some of those they would survive a little bit longer because the tank was so big and there was so much room, you could shoot into it, maybe not hit anything important.
What about the tank tracks? So do you get a lot of aftermarket tank tracks, or do you sort of quite happy with what comes with the kits?
Hobby Boss is good because they give you workable tracks. So it's like model cast and tracks with each separate link, and you've got to put little pins in them, glue pins in, and so the best tracks of all are workable tracks.
Yep.
A lot of work, but still they're better than rubber band tracks.
Yes.
So that's good. Saves you. I sort of tend to end up buying aftermarket tracks because I'm an idiot, and saves me a lot of money. It probably saves about $30 or $40 on each kit, I think, by doing that. But some of them, like the T35 kits, are all got Lincoln length tracks, which they look pretty good. So that's not a problem. But I've been pleasantly surprised at the quality. Like there's a guy in another club involved with called Tracy who's been into Russian tanks for a long time.
Tracy loves his Russian tanks.
He actually reckons he should be doing this talk rather than me.
Oh, by the way, g'day Tracy, how you going?
But he's been buying these older kits, and I've
he has a passion for the pre-World War II stuff and very early World War II stuff. Yeah,
yeah. And these kits have only been available from the strange manufacturers.
Yep.
And honestly, I look at the kits, and he does a great job on them, but they're horror shows. I just, honestly, the colours, the plastic is green, and it's just so much work, and he does it so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take forever to make a good kit, but he can get this horrible kit.
Yeah.
I think it's because in his job he's used to building things, so it's he just gets on with it rather than worries about it like I do.
Yeah.
But he does a great job, and he's been building all these obscure Russian tanks for years and doing them from awful kits. So
awful kits.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch them.
Yeah.
No, I'm
like the plastic is in white.
Oh.
Yeah, white plastic, or the what are they called? The water pistol green.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I built a kit in water pistol green once.
No.
What was that, the 48 scale P40N from Mauve, that's it.
Right.
Ugh. It comes that lime green plastic.
Oh, shocking.
Oh, yeah, open the box and you go blind.
So tell me, Robert, with you wouldn't have to really worry about too much about paint. It'd just be green, and more green, wouldn't it, for Russian tanks?
Well, that's the interesting thing is that for many years, you've been able to buy paint sets and stuff, and people have been painting their tanks in these weird bright greens, which, now that we've actually got some information, there used to be this idea that the Russians painted anything on their tanks, tractor paint and all sorts of stuff. It's rubbish. They had proper paint standards, and 4BO green is their standard. And when you see colour photographs, which you do occasionally, I've got one of the T35 that I'm modelling, and you can sort of see it's quite clearly an olive green colour, and it's not this weird sort of green. I could mention some manufacturers who do some artistic paint sets that is wrong, but it's basically an olive green. But you can see in the same photograph, you can see quite a bit of variation. And I read a report about the T35 that was sent to America for testing, and they matched the colour, I think it was to 4059 on the FS thing, and it's a very dark green, which is darker than you'd expect. But apparently Russian paint darkened over time.
Oh, okay.
I suppose it darkened the binder. You sort of expect paint to get lighter.
You'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it apparently got darker. And I looked up, I can't believe how dark the paint would have been. So, but the idea is don't do lolly green paints on your Russian tanks. look, and you can get a mix. There's Mike Starmer, the guy from the UK who does lots of mixes for all sorts of good stuff, and he does good research. There's a mix he does which gets you there. So, but I think you can also buy paints, but I like to stick to his mixes because I use Tamiya paint.
Yeah.
And I trust him.
Yeah.
I don't trust some people. So.
So how far along are you on these builds? You got 35 kits, you said.
Well,
there.
I've got 5 T34s well into construction.
Yep.
The hold up is being the tracks, which going to take forever.
Yep.
And sort of I had to do a little bit more research to find some stuff out. Like on the sides of early T34s, they've got these box-shaped petrol tanks, and the kit comes with these weird half-moon cutouts, and I think that can't possibly be right. And later versions of the kit came with the cutouts missing. But then I had looking at photographs. Now the cutouts are there. I don't know what they're for.
Oh.
But they're there. So I've now got to alter them and change them back to the other way. So there's that. But I've got a KV1 economy with the extra armour with the big bolts on the side. Looks very cool. I think you saw the.
Yeah, I did. Looks
and
cool.
I was doing some more research on the web, and I found that the Trumpeter have got shown that the front part of the armour standing out a bit, which is correct because apparently when they made the armour, it would be not quite right size and would overlap a bit, but they've got it sticking out a bit too much, so I've had to alter that a bit.
Yep.
And I used the information on the side of the box, which said 25 mil. Turns out it was 30 mil. So I actually thinned it down and then had to increase the thickness again afterwards when I found out. But at least I know now. I've done it now, Julian. So it's all right.
He does this all the time.
Yeah.
See, I jumped in too early. I should have done more research. Spent more and more hours doing research.
Or done less research, right?
Well, I didn't do any research. I just followed what was on the box, and I got into trouble. So,
you can't necessarily always trust what's on the side of the box.
well, that's right. There is one Trumpeter kit. I don't have it, one of the versions of it, and it's used some weird translation system, and it's so much fun to read what they say about this tank. It's just, it's very strange.
So tell me, are you a true tank builder in that you build the whole tank then paint it afterwards, or do you paint sub-assemblies as you're going along?
Usually I make the whole thing and then paint it. But
Okay.
this time I'm doing it slightly differently and doing the tracks separately, gluing them all up, and I'm going to try that. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to the old way because I generally find you can get away with it.
Now that reminds me, I think it was Julian who came up with the idea of doing a way of doing the tracks where you better explain. You build the tracks and you just push the whole thing on the side with the sprockets. And everything.
Yeah. So what I do is I essentially glue or I line up all the track links together against something straight, and then I glue them all, and then while the glue's partially dried but not completely dry, I then put it on the tank and wrap it around the wheels. Right. I believe you've tried it once.
I have,
or
yep.
something, Robert.
It went okay. I found that the
So, sorry, just to interrupt, but the wheels, the sprockets aren't actually glued on. You can pull them off again, can't you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it actually gluing the sprockets and things to the tracks, and that's worked fairly well, except sometimes if it's a bit sticky, one of the wheels will break off the tracks because there's not a massive gluing area. So it's a work in progress.
So what you're trying to do is replicate the way Airfix used to do it on their old 176 scale tanks, where the wheels and the tracks all come in one sort of thing.
Yep.
So what you guys are doing is you're getting the tracks you've made out of links, you're partially gluing it, and then you're putting the sprockets on and just pushing it onto the kit itself.
Yep. So it doesn't work for every kit. Every different tanks have different hurdles you got to overcome, but it works for some of them. It works for T-34s pretty well, I think.
I was going to say it's quite impressive you came up with that idea, Julian.
I didn't come up with it.
Okay, truth comes out now.
No, I got it. Like much like anything, I found someone on the internet who used it, and then I modified it a little for my own interests and things, and I think it works better on very narrow tracks. I'm not sure if it works very well on. It also comes down to the way they've engineered where the wheels and the sprockets go on, things like that. I mean,
you need to be able to slide on and off very easily because if they stick, that's when those bits break.
Yeah.
And also it helps if it's a tank that has a lot of sag in the tracks up the top.
Yep.
Because then you've actually got sort of stretching room to play with, right? Because if it's very taut, like say on a Sherman, it's not going to be easy to get it on there.
Yeah.
Well, don't build Shermans.
The Russians had Shermans,
yeah, they did. Yeah, my sort of whole thing is that my main interest is from the big 22nd of June, 1941, till Kursk.
Yep.
That's my main area of interest. And I'm trying to stick to that to just not spend so much money.
Yeah.
But I've already built a Lend-Lease Valentine tank, which from AFV Club, really nice kit, and it came up very well. But I probably will build some others. I quite like the T-Track. Bronco marked that, and also comes with the Russian markings, which are in fact just British markings. They didn't mark them.
And how many whitewashed tanks are you going to make?
Well, I'm famously not a fan of the whitewash.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to do some because they're Russian and they had a lot that were white, but it will be a small amount. I'll be sticking to summer tanks.
But it was just the whitewash was just white paint that just splashed over the top of it, really, wasn't it?
But it was basically a mixture of chalk and lime and some watery stuff. And
which would wash off
Yeah,
when the
it washes
spring
off
rains came.
You can often see them too. They've got like streaks from where the rain has come, where it's just washed
Yeah,
off. And also, from the looks of it, it washes off anywhere that gets touched.
yeah.
So it was like a specially designed thing. I think they did want it to come off. I think they also used it for markings. I was reading in one of the websites, there's a terrific one called Tank Archives, which a Russian bloke actually goes into tank archives, and he's got the actual letters people sent to one another. And it's interesting, one of the letters, it's with the Russians, it was like if there was a problem, they would say, "It's your problem, you fix it." Like rather than say, "This is a problem, fix it."
Yep.
It's your problem, you fix it. You'll be in trouble if you don't fix it. So and you've got 20 days.
Yeah.
Because they did things so fast. They'd come up whole vehicles in tiny amount of time. And it didn't always work great, but they'd sort of work on them. But anyway, back to the markings. A lot of times, it's a bit hard to see sometimes. They would have air identification markings in the early days, which would be big triangles or circles or crosses, usually in white. And they used to change these every day. So those Germans couldn't copy them.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Except that really the Russians at that point didn't have any aeroplanes, and the only aeroplanes were German, so all these markings would be terrific for the Stukas.
Yes.
What interests me is that in 44 and 45, the Russians started using these big white bands around their turrets, which suggests to me that they were still having identification problems and having a lot of blue on blue. Hence the reason to clearly identify, hey, no, I'm a Russian tank, not a German tank.
Yeah, well, it made sense then because they had command of the air.
And command of the ground forces as well,
that's true,
yeah, absolutely. So to prevent any sort of, over-enthusiastic Stormovic pilot sort of going, tank, coming down. Oh, no, it's got a white band around it. It's not one of mine.
Don't shoot.
It's one of mine, I should say.
Just back on colours again, I didn't mention before, we often think Russian just green.
Yeah.
But they did actually, apart from the white, which could be sort of interesting patterns on those too, but they used brown and sand colour as well, so you have green, brown and sand, and that was thought to be fairly uncommon, but now while it wasn't very common, it's not unusual, so that gives you another option for doing a Russian vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So much like I've got a picture here of World War II Army Soviet armour, and there's what's that there, Robert? I can't see that.
That's a BA armoured car. I think
Which is
BA 10,
which is in a sandy sort of colour. So there you go.
And often they had specific things for painting white camouflage, in that you could either paint it all white or bands of white and green. But over the green, they would paint like squiggly lines, crisscross squiggly lines, just to sort of make it blend in a bit more. Which on a model, I suppose, in fact, you get decals in one of the Dragon kits. It looks a bit like tyre tracks, like someone's run over them.
Oh, okay.
But when you see it actually painted, and it tends to be more, you can see the guy's got the brush and just done squiggly crisscross lines. Yeah, it's interesting.
So your favourite manufacturer overall for your Russian tanks?
The best kit so far I've seen would be the Mini Art T60.
Okay.
But the Hobby Boss kits are really nice. And
good value for money to boot.
Well, Trumpet are the best with the $13
Jeez,
KVs.
yeah, you can't beat that.
They don't do... Actually, the latest ones are up to about $37 now, I think.
That's still
developed
pretty
versions. Yeah, it's still pretty good. But
Geez, I'll pay $37 from an aftermarket 5-inch naval guns.
you naval guys just spend money like it's water.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Funny that. Like it's water because their ships go in water, right?
He's getting you joking there somehow.
Yeah, but so far, like most of them, except for we're talking the really old ones, the latest kits have been good. Although Zvezda have some they're not the latest kits. I wouldn't maybe recommend them. I'd get the the newer stuff. But the T35 I've got is from Zvesta, in fact. But that's a really, really nice kit, and has got all the correct features for what I want. Well, except for the front faces of the machine guns, but they're amplified, so I've got to arrange plastic card and fix them up. But they're really, really nice quality kits, and has quite a decent interior on that kit. So, but some of the other Zvesta kits, they're a few years old, and there are better kits now.
You don't really care whether it's got an interior or not?
Oh no, I don't care because I like to stick figures in. I don't.
Yeah.
In aircraft, I won't put a figure near them, but armour, I like to have figures.
See,
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same.
I don't like figures at all, only because I'm terrible at doing figures, and I won't have a model with a figure in it.
Okay. Well, then you need to buy kits with full interior so you can have the hatches open and it not look empty.
Well, I have built one tank, so I'm somewhat of an expert now.
That's enough to make you an expert.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
That's enough to make me dangerous, I think.
One thing that I do notice that Robert does is he has a figure that he puts in a lot of different tanks when he needs to.
I do. I just whack him in because...
You get one figure and you just sort of move him around.
But yeah, basically, when I put a kit in, I've run out of time and you just get a guy to fill up the hole, basically. Another kit I should mention is a great kit to make.
Yep.
Is the Tamiya BT7.
Okay.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun to make.
Yeah.
When I think about making a fun kits, it's always Tamiya.
Yeah.
It just goes together really well, and I built it in 2 days, which is like a miracle for me to do anything in that time. And admittedly, I've got aftermarket tracks for that because the tracks aren't quite as thin as I'd like. They're very thin on the BT tanks. But you buy the tracks from Bronco. And also in one of them, because one of the tanks I'm doing, it was an earlier one, a 1935 model, and it had they added newer tracks to some of them because the pitch was too long and they used to bend and cause a lot of vibration. And I got the Bronco tracks, but I also had to buy a different idler for the back. And I couldn't get an idler anywhere, so I had to buy an entire wheel set just for the idlers.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Compared to it was $20, which compared to you guys with your $150 etch metal sets is not much, but it was like, why?
Yes. The added expense you don't want.
That's right.
Oh, look at the bright side. All those bits you don't use go in the spare kit parts box.
Yeah.
In truth, I have never ever used. I've got a spare parts bin. I've never used a part from it because I can never find anything that. Is
I've got heaps of boxes, and I just look at them and go, one day I'm just going to chuck all this stuff.
See, you guys are coming over to my side, right? Where I don't have one because I know I'm never going to use anything in there, and so I throw it all away.
Except the time I saved some parts for you, and you did use them.
Oh, whatever.
You know what I'm mad for? I'll be cutting the part off the sprue tree, and I'll see this part of the sprue and I go, geez, that might be good in to use as something else, and I'll put it aside, and I've got a whole box full of little offcuts of sprues that one day I might use for something else.
Paint stirrers.
Yeah, that's what I do. I
Paint
cut up all my
stirrers
sprues.
And stretch sprue.
No, I got one of those little... No, I don't use stretch sprue. I got one of those little cocktail things to stir up my paint.
Oh, yep.
And it's battery operating.
High tech.
Have you sprayed yourself with paint yet?
No, because I got a toilet roll.
Oh, right.
Without the toilet paper on it. And you put it over the paint first, and then you put your stirrer in there, and as it comes out, it goes inside the toilet roll.
That's a good idea. I did it. I had one of those, and I absent-mindedly pulled it out. It didn't go well.
Oh dear.
Paint everywhere.
We live and learn, don't we?
We do.
That we do.
Yeah.
Too true.
Yeah.
Less painful than some of the things I've done, like picking up a soldering iron by the wrong end.
Oh, it's not as bad as picking up a knife by the wrong end, which I'm sure we've all done.
Yep.
Or dropped them.
Yes.
Drop them off the bench and...
I find one of the worst things to do is like trying to push a bit of wire through something, and it goes straight through and then
into your finger.
Oh, the pain.
Yes, especially doing those model custom tracks.
Yes, very much so.
All right. Well, Robert, thank you again for coming in and having a chat about Russian tanks.
That's right, I enjoyed it.
Do you have a Facebook page or something where people can go and ask you questions if they've got specific questions? Or
no, I don't.
All right. Well, send your requests in to us and we'll pass them on to you. That'd be the easiest way of doing it.
Okay. Will you get any request?
I'll probably get some comments about you, about requests.
Yeah, maybe don't put those up.
No, from time to time we get people sort of who listen to the show. They'll say, "Oh, I heard Robert say this," or "heard one of our guests," and they'll pass on or make a comment about something, and I like to pass it on to the
Or
guests.
correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully no death threats at this point.
No, not
No.
yet. No, we don't get
Give it
death
time.
threats. It's coming. All right, so Robert, thank you very much for coming in, and no doubt we'll have you back again in the future.
Thanks for having me. I have to get a new obsession.
Yes, you will.
I don't know if I can afford another one, but
We might dial you up on when we're having our next episode to help you so you can with what's new, because you seem to
Okay,
you came with a whole list.
perhaps I could send you some of the websites I trawl around and.
Well, that mightn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Good idea.
All right, thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Ian, any parting words to the audience out there?
No, just enjoy it.
Okay, and across to Julian.
One thing I would say is if you're building Russian tanks, you don't have to go to the same degree that Robert does.
Yes, you do.
No, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
I take a lot of pleasure in not going that far, right? I like infuriating him with my simplicity.
Well, listen, if you're not getting obsessed by the hobby, you might as well just get off the train and go and do something else.
Exactly.
That's right.
Get things right or go home.
Well, there you go.
Or just listen to someone like Robert and just pick and choose the parts that are convenient to you.
Gee, I think that's the longest sign-off we've had from Corbin Dallas in a long time.
It is, yes.
Yes.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll catch you in a fortnight. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode. If you'd like to continue to support us, please consider becoming a patron of the show. Just go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and consider just $1 a month as a starting donation. Some of the benefits of being a patron is that after we've reviewed a kit or glue or paint, all of our Patreon members' names go into a hat with the chance of actually winning that particular item we've just reviewed. And of course, thanks to our ongoing Patreon supporters. Thanks very much.